all say, who is Doctor Who? Where is he from? What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who. So I ask you, who's Doctor Who?
Good morning, Chicago Tardis. How we doing? Happy Sunday. Hello. I'm Larry Van Mersbergen, host of the Doctor Who Collectors podcast and a frequent speaker at Chicago Tardis, and doing my second main stage interview of my career. When I was 15 years old, I got to meet Patrick Troughton at the Chicago convention, and I never thought that my 15-year-old self would actually be talking to his companions 40 years later. So we're going to have a great conversation, some in-depth stuff, some fun stuff. So I know you all love them, the second Doctor group. Please welcome to the stage Frazer Hines and Wendy Padbury.
Good morning.
It's always a big crowd for a Sunday. I appreciate some of my listeners, some fans of the Second Doctor. It's always good to have you. Well, thank you both for being here today. Oh, it's wonderful. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I'm going to go right off the bat here with a question for both of you because of the breaking news out there. Since with the War Games not only being colorized and reduced to 90 minutes with the regeneration, what are your feelings about that? Since you guys put in a lot of work on that story.
Well, no, I think it's great. I always thought it was too long anyway. I thought it was 10 episodes, wasn't it?
Yes, 10 episodes. It's a long story.
I always thought maybe it could have been 8 episodes. There was a reason why it was 10 episodes, because stories fell through and the usual thing. But I'm quite excited about seeing it, actually.
The very fact that Russell T Davies is resurrected, a classic, rather than just sort of, oh, that's the old days, that's the old days. I'm very excited about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. Of course, in color with the regeneration that John Pertwee kind of what we didn't get in the 70s. So
I've seen some of the clips on YouTube.
There is a trailer on YouTube.
What, of War Games? Yeah.
Yes. It looks great.
Does it?
Gosh. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, you can. If you saw the original and you saw this, you thought they redid it because it doesn't look colorized.
No, it looks
really nice.
I've seen Laura and Hardy colorized,
and it looks colorized.
Is it colorized?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go back and forth here with some specific things. So, Frazer, this one's for you. Jamie had a fantastic chemistry with Patrick Troughton's Doctor. So, what do you think made that special?
I don't know, because we met before, 2 years before I did the Highlanders, a thing called Smuggler's Bay, where I was the star of the show, and Patrick was playing this old smuggler, Ratsey. And then 2 years later, he's the star of the show, and I'm coming in just to do 4 episodes. I'm so pleased that I said yes to those 4 episodes. And I said, oh, Doctor Who is a children's TV series, I can't be bothered to deny, I've never seen Australia, New Zealand, all of America, Milton Keynes, I've never seen half these big places. So I'm so glad, but I don't know what the chemistry was. We didn't try to gel or try to blend together. It just happened. And the lovely thing is Patrick had this lovely thing that if you suggested some comedy or something, he didn't say, no, you just, I'm the doctor, you just learn your lines, you don't know. You go, Frazer, go right, yeah, we'll do it, yeah, we don't expect it, it's just happening.
Absolutely. Oh, microphone off. Wendy, Zoe often stood out as one of the most capable companions. Did you feel a sense of responsibility in portraying that character?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, she was certainly more clever than the Doctor.
Yes.
She wasn't backwards in telling the Doctor how irritated she was by
She had no problem standing up to
She
the
had
Doctor.
no problems. So yeah, it was a fantastic part to play. And very different to Debbie, who'd been wonderful, but such a completely different character.
Oh, yes.
So
Debbie was so lovely
fun.
and beautiful and attractive.
Frazer? Out. No, she was really lovely to play. I was very happy. Yeah. But talking about that, what made you and Pat to like gel? You don't know what that is, do you? It's when you meet anyone. What is it that draws you to someone?
Yes.
To that person and not that person. You don't know. It's an indefinable quality that that happens. Something happens and you just gel. It's lovely.
And I
I'm
noticed
glad it did as well.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, definitely.
In the stories I've seen, which sadly are very many, I've always seen that the Doctor and Jamie have this really close friendship, even to the point when, at the end of Wheel in Space, very reluctant to accept Zoe as part of the TARDIS crew, that Jamie kind of had an ownership of the Doctor.
Oh, yeah. We had a great bromance. I mean, certainly grabbing each other.
They held hands at the beginning of the Cybermen.
Oh, yeah, that loving grabbing the hat.
Still great.
Oh,
Still great.
that was wonderful.
Okay, Frazer, for you here, just as after the initial getting started, what was it like working with Pat and Wendy in the dynamic from the Wheel in Space to the War Games?
It was obviously different because he had this wonderful. He loved Victoria Waterfield because she was more of his era, almost the mood, the adrenaline, and the ideology of that sort of person. I mean, Zoe he thought was a little bossy, but he would have killed for Zoe, fought for her to the death. But again, we just sort of gel again.
Yeah.
Wendy wasn't like who's this person coming in, this interlude of adultery. You just fit it straight away.
And Wendy, same question, working with Pat and Frazer.
Yeah, well, it was daunting, of course, because daunting to become the new girl and take over from Debs. So it was daunting, but both Frazer and Patrick made me so welcome, and it was very quick to settle and become part of the Troughton trio, as we're named. It was just a joy. Yeah.
And then we were very fortunate because Paul Fox, who was the head honcho at BBC at the time, when he joined, we broke for our summer holiday for 6 weeks. But he didn't want to put a new serial in or a new story or anything. So somebody came up with the idea of Patrick putting a mapping on and going to show Zoe what it's like. And they showed the Evil to Dallas.
Yes.
And we all went on holiday. And I saw Paul Fox years later. So we all went on holiday and said, cheers, Paul, another pina colada on Paul Fox. Because we got paid while we were on holiday.
Of course.
Yeah.
Great.
And one of the few instances where a repeat was part of the canon, part of the storyline, where we had to go Wheel in Space, Evil of the Daleks, then the following story.
Yeah.
This brilliant stuff. And of course, I told the audience before we came out, I'm old enough that I met Patrick Troughton back in '84. I met Michael Craig, and almost all of the companions.
Annika. Yeah.
And Annika, she was here a few years ago, and it was just an amazing experience as a young person. I'll show the story real briefly. I was at the Hyatt in Chicago here, looking out the window. I was waiting for some friends, and a person walked up next to me and said, "What a beautiful city!" And I turned and it was Patrick Troughton. So I said, "Hello." I was 15 years old at the time, so I was just starstruck, absolutely. And he was just so kind and just admiring the scene around him. I believe it was one of his first Chicago trips, and just an amazing person to meet. So I can imagine, of course, his body of work and his children both speak highly of him as well.
Yeah,
What an amazing.
And also, if he hadn't been so wonderful as a doctor, we possibly wouldn't be sitting here
Yes,
talking about Doctor
absolutely.
Who now.
It would have been, by a bit of a way. Yes, absolutely. Okay, Frazer, Jamie remains one of the most beloved companions in all the history of Doctor Who. Why do you think the character has endured in the hearts of fans even till today?
I wish I knew because I had bottled it.
He's got great legs.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it was killed or naivety, so to speak, you know, but he could make fun of things and as a joke, but it's not a joke, it's just Jamie trying to understand stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it was this sort of naivety that you had, but also the stoicness that Diana gathered when she saw the war games, you know, like Jamie calling Jamie Frazer.
The first episode I ever saw of Patrick Transit was episode 10 of the War Games. And what sticks in my mind is that opening sequence where the doctor's trying to get the key in, and here comes Jamie running through this force field to help him. And it's just so, in slow motion. And that was my first view of Jamie. And I thought, wow, he's going to save the day. Here we go. Because, you know, Zoe and Doctor trying to get that key up there, and you get it through, and they start.
Because we filmed that at a rubbish dump, Brighton rubbish dump. And we had rats running around.
It was grim, wasn't it? It was snowing. It was April. It was snowing, really cold, and many rats.
Of course, Wendy, the same question. Zoe, of course, is a beloved companion. Why do you think people today are still flocking to the stories?
I think maybe because she was different. She was, you know, a strong woman, girl at the time, and I think it was a period of time where it was unusual to have strong women characters on telly,
especially in the 60s.
It's in the 60s. So I think she, you know, I've met 4 since I've been doing Doctor Who conventions, both in America and in the UK, astrophysicists, female astrophysicists, all who became astrophysicists because of watching Zoe. And it's a very humbling experience, because when you're doing this work, you don't realise an impact you're having.
Your influence, you know, when you're an actor and you're playing a role. And I know many actors have said the same thing. You know, the reason that I went into this is because you were this character.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an amazing thing, especially for young women in the 60s.
Yeah.
To come out of that era and go into astrophysics. That's amazing.
Yes.
And of course, Wendy, just back to you for a moment. You were known for, at least you can confirm or deny it, that you were behind a lot of the behind-the-scenes mishaps or practical jokes.
Absolutely not.
And if so,
I mean, seriously, that was him.
Even Colin Baker would say that. Yeah.
Well, any practical jokes that you can share to our Sunday audience here?
No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
We get through this
When you think about it, it was a swinging 60s, so
of course,
everything went, you know, but you couldn't do it nowadays.
Right, absolutely. Well, they happened, and they were funny, and now we're going to...
We did bad Patrick sometimes. He'd come out.
Oh yeah, we did that a lot.
Yeah.
We used to go to the TARDIS and then
We'd take his trousers
pull
off.
his trousers down. Also, I was wearing a little kilt at rehearsal. It was very fashionable at the time. And I think I'd been out the night before. We rehearsed a scene, sat down on these chairs at the side so other actors could have their go. And I kind of sat like this and nodded off. And Pat was on one side, Frazer was on the other. And I got this little kilt with little straps here. And all of a sudden I was being nudged in the ribs by Frazer going, Patters, come on, we're on. And I shot up like this to go and work, and my skirt stayed back there. I was in the middle of the rehearsal room in my knickers because you'd taken my skirt off.
And it was a church hall, wasn't it?
And it was a church hall. And I remember running out the double doors, and I went absolutely scarlet and just going, and I ran out into the hallway to go to the ladies, and I bumped into the vicar. And for some unknown reason, I said, morning, vicar, and then I curtsied. I don't know why. But that was one of the worst ones we ever played on.
That's a great story. Okay, Frazer,
And Hitler Bright, when we did the two doctors, we were queuing at the canteen. I had this sort of muesli. Like, what's that smell of it? She went, and she came out home, and she didn't hit me. Our girls were lovely. They could have said, Christ, grow up, you know. But no, we had some lovely girls. Enjoy life and fooling around.
Nick, that's a good story. A quick story for you too, because when I was much younger, I had a friend of mine who actually went on vacation to Seville.
Oh yeah.
And he came back and he was really excited to talk to me. He says, "Hey, I got to talk to you because we were visiting Seville and we ran into these folks at this little hotel and asked, hey, I see all the film crew. Are you guys from Hollywood?" And someone said, "No, we're better. We're British." From his description, it was you, Frazer.
Oh yeah.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Because we had two policemen looking after us who got caught in the traffic, and they were very off. You know, they wouldn't join in and they wouldn't speak. Good morning, you know. And they were with us for about 3 weeks. And towards the end of the week, they started the first, second week, join us. Look, come join us for lunch. We have a glass of wine. Come join us for lunch. On the very last day of filming, I've got some photographs of Nicola handcuffed to one of the policemen, and I'm hitting on with a truncheon. And they said, when you first come here, we think, oh, English, no, football hooligans, we do not like the British. But now we realize that you're not all British are football hooligans. And we actually cemented Anglo-Spanish.
Oh, he was Welsh, was he?
That's right.
Okay. All right, Frazer, this one's specifically for you. So, as many of if you listen to my podcast, the Dr. Claire's podcast, we use as our theme song, a little song that Frazer recorded back in 1968 called "Who's Doctor Who?"
Oh yeah.
Tell us about the recording. I know that these folks.
Well, I was playing charity football, and one of the team was Barry Mason, and he and Les Reed had written Delilah for Tom Jones and The Last Waltz for Engelbert Humperdinck. And he said, Frazer, look, you're popular in this Doctor Who thing. Me and Les are going to write a song. So they wrote the song called Who's Doctor Who? It was the only flop they ever had, actually. But on guitar was Jimmy Page.
Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
As a young lad, Jimmy. And I've yet to meet him and say, I started your career off. And they all say, "Who's Doctor Who? Where is he from?" It's a nice song. And the other side, the B side, Punch and Judy Man, all the disc jockeys wanted to play that. It's a much better record. But in those days, you weren't allowed to play the B side. You had to play the A side. That was it. And I saw Les Reed a few years just before he died, and at a function. And I told him the story. He said, "Yes, that's the only flop we had. You owe me £1 million."
Well, thankfully we've revived it, and every episode begins with the Frazer Dig. So if you're not a listener, subscribe, and you can hear that song in every episode. Wendy, of course, after leaving Doctor Who, you worked as a talent agent, discovered folks like Matt Smith. You heard of him? Yeah. So what drew you to that side of the entertainment industry?
Oh, it was a long time afterwards. Many years. I did lots of work, and then I stopped to have children, and etc. What drew me to Matt, did you ask?
What drew you to that?
Or to being an agent?
Yeah.
Well, because I didn't know what else to do. I knew that I didn't want to act anymore, and somebody said you'd make a good agent, and I said, well, I don't think I would. That's like a proper job. To get up and go to an office, that's not very me. Anyway, I did, and I did it for 15 years, and yeah, Matt was one of the boys I saw at the National Youth Theatre, because part of an agent's job was to go and see all the end-of-term showcases that the drama schools did, and see who was coming up through the ranks. And I went to the National Youth Theatre, and Matt was in a play. He didn't have very much to do, but I just couldn't take my eyes off him. He was really fantastic. And so I went up to him afterwards and said, I'm an agent, and I don't know whether you want to be an actor or not. And he said, yeah, I do. And I said, well, I'd be, very interested in meeting you. If you want to come for an interview, not an interview, if you want to come to the office and meet us all, then that would be lovely. And he did. And he came on, I think he came on the Thursday. We said, right, we'll get your photos done, we'll do a CV for you. And then on the Friday, I got a phone call from the Royal Court Theatre, from the casting director, who said, we're having really terrible trouble casting this particular part. We want somebody who looks quite quirky, who can look about 15 and can do an American accent, a New York American accent. And I said, oh, Matt Smith. And she said, I don't know who that is. And I said, well, you won't. I only took him on yesterday. I said, I can't send you any photos because I haven't got any yet. She said, I trust you. Tell him to come and get a script from the Royal Court stage door and then come back on Monday morning and have an audition. So I phoned Matt on the Friday and said, right, first question is, can you do a New York accent? And he said, yes, I can. And I said, yes, okay, in which case, go to the Royal Court, pick up a script, have it, read it over the weekend, and go on Monday for your interview for this play. And he said, bloody hell, that was quick. And the rest is history. I don't think I've ever had so much interest in a client as Matt. I had another Matthew McFadden was my client as well, that I took from RADA. He made a Matthew McFadden Succession, and I found him at RADA as well. But really with Matt Smith, he's just got that face, hasn't he? He's just all those features that don't really go together individually, but then they do. And he's just amazing. He's fabulous. He's fabulous.
Oh gosh, yeah, I think she did a good job with that, didn't she? Frazer, just a quick thing. If you're in for a wonderful holiday movie that'll really set you in the mood, Frazer and Sylvester were in a movie called Lost at Christmas. And could you tell our audience about that film?
Yeah, it was set entirely on location up in Scotland. About this young couple who meet and they get snowbound in this hotel up in the Highlands. And Sylvester and I, we played two sort of old Scottish Highlanders. And we had this idea, we just said, fancy a drink, Jimmy? I'll have a drink. But if you did a Highland accent, would we have to have any gram of whiskey? Hey, I'll join you, and we grab some whiskey. So we get a lot more screen time. So we did the first scene to the director, and he looked, he said, you two buggers. Yeah. I know what you're doing, but keep it in. And he kept it in, and so lovely. The BBC too have now taken under their wing a bit like Die Hard, and they show it every Christmas now. It's going to be shown again this Christmas coming up.
And if you want to watch it here in the United States, if you have a Roku, Roku has its own channel called Roku Channel, and Lost at Christmas is on the Roku Channel with no cost. So I believe you can also get it on Amazon Prime. So definitely check out that film. I've seen it twice. It's a wonderful film.
There's another one that Brian Hendrick, who wrote and directed that one as well, called Sundown, with me and Katie Blackwood. And again, we shot that on the island of Iona. And it took about 2 days to get there with ferries, and it was raining. And then the 4 days we were actually filming, the sun shone, and it worked because it had been raining. Suddenly I was just walking down these lovely sort of lanes in the Highlands of Scotland. It could be raining, it wouldn't be the same. But that's called Sundown.
And it's a beautiful, and by the way, Lost at Christmas, beautiful scenery of the winter of northern Scotland.
The last scene of Sundown, we were actually watching the sun going down, and the camera was on my back, and the sun's going down, and I'm just looking out to sea, and it's action, and I'm watching the sun go down, it's going down. And somebody a few days later said, God, Frazer, that was amazing. And we only saw your back, but we could see the emotion of your character, William. You know, what are you thinking? I was thinking, for Christ's sake, hurry up, I'm frozen.
Just in case you thought acting was easy, everybody. Okay, here's If you could play a different role in the modern Doctor Who series, what kind of character would you like to play? I'll start with Wendy.
A character that's been a character
It
that's
could be a
been.
new character or an old character, but not your present character.
Oh, I'd like to be Missy. I love Missy. She's amazing. That's an amazing character. Or Jamie.
That's good in a guild, yes.
Yes.
Good in a guild.
There you go. Frazer?
I think I'd like to have a stab at playing the master.
Ooh.
Playing the Daddy. Yes.
That would be a good one for you.
Yeah.
Kind of
Playing
like,
an evil sort of, because I played Daddy before, you know.
yes.
Not always sort of nice people.
So you need to get with Sasha Dewan.
Yes.
So yeah, get some of that master.
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh, is he?
Great.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, just honestly, I saw him talking with some children and just giving him his time, and wow, what a
I did a TV series, funny enough, called Out of Sight. It was about a school.
Yeah.
And he was one of the pupils, I think he was only about 14 at the time. Wow. And I played one of the nasty Mr. Street, a PE teacher, which was great character to play. And little Sasha was there, and I've seen him.
wow. It's amazing how small world it is, the acting world. Just a lot of fun. For both of you, okay, what does it mean to you personally to be remembered fondly as Doctor Who fans, considering your run ended in 1969, and this country didn't see any of it until just recently?
You haven't seen it since until recently, really?
Well, the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Since the 80s. It never got broadcast here until the mid-80s. And of course, by that point, and the first showings were actually the first showings of Patrick Troughton stories were at the Chicago Convention in 1984, and the first one was the Croutons.
Oh.
Direction point.
Yeah. Where we go on kindergarten to the students.
Mother God, Mother God. Yeah.
Gone in the wind, yes.
Well, it's incredible, isn't it?
Oh, I do.
It's absolutely incredible. You don't think when you're 21 and you're doing a job and you're a young actor that all these years later you would be sitting here talking about that role and that show. I mean, it's incredible. And it's all thanks to the fans, because if you weren't such fans, then we wouldn't be sitting here talking about
I
it.
just look at the size of this crowd on a Sunday morning.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's for me too, because since I first saw Patrick Troughton stories in the early '80s, and of course I don't think either one of you were at those Chicago conventions.
Yeah, I was at the 84
84
because
yeah.
Patrick and Colin Baker, we just done the two doctors, and they both, God bless them, they just said, you've got to have Frazer, and then they rang Norman Rubinstein, so you've got to have Frazer.
That's right.
It'll be fun,
That's
it'll be
right.
fun. And that's what happened.
Yes, and I just remember they showed, that was the origin of the 24-hour video room, by the way, because I watched the War Games at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, some of you remember that as well. It was just amazing. But and that kind of grew, the American audience just kind of gravitated towards, Jamie, Zoe, Victoria, and the stories that we could see at that time. More have come out since then.
But if I'd known, when he said, with somebody, I'd have kept my kilt and my shirt and my mask. That's what when I finished. Well, that's
What are you
it.
gonna do?
3 years, 3.5
Yeah.
years, I'm going on now to the next job.
Absolutely. And I had the same conversation with Peter Purvis not long ago about how he's done all this other stuff, but people keep coming back to his Doctor Who role.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And he's now really proud to be part of that era, as all of the actors are.
Well, some actors, they hate to be reminded of their early stuff, but I'm very proud of Jamie. And people say, oh no, I don't want to be reminded, those are the old days. No, I'm very proud of being part of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Do either of you have a favorite story that you either worked on or watched?
Well, I always say it's Mind Robber. I love Mind Robber.
Yes, I love
Only because it was so different and so innovative, so unlike anything else we were doing. And what I often say is, it also, Frazer wasn't there for a week. I mean, that what a great story actually for Frazer to get chicken pox during, because any other might have been a bit more complicated, but because of the nature of the story, that putting his face together and getting it on a board like a jigsaw was a sort of an immediate stroke of genius.
Yes.
I can remember Terence Dick sitting down on the set, sort of writing stuff and trying to put it in, and then Hamish appeared, you know.
One of my favourite bits in the mind drop was when Patrick and I were ushered into this room with Emrys James, sitting behind this desk with all these electrode things. And the floor manager said, Frazer, can you just get near the table? Patrick, stay by the door. Bit nearer the table, Frazer, that's it. Patrick, you're fine back there. Bit nearer, can you get any nearer to the table? I said, no, my junk is now resting on the table. And Patrick's voice said, yes, so's mine.
Oh boy, do you see what I had to put up with? Do you feel my pain?
Okay, so Frazer, do you have a favorite story other than mine, Robert, that possibly one before Wendy?
I'd love to see the Highlanders. I really would.
We should animate the Highlanders, right?
Years back, I said to one of the animators, and they said, no, we can't do the Highlanders. It's the kilt, it's so different, all the pleats. I said, no, but in the Highlanders, we didn't have pleats. It was just a wrap-around kilt, so it just wasn't done. And we didn't know that. I said, yes, so hopefully we might do the Highlanders one day.
That's a great story. It's a great story. I've read it. If you haven't read The Highlanders, get a copy of the Target book. It's really quite good. In a few moments, if you have any questions for Wendy and Frazer, we have a microphone over here. If you want to form a queue over here to this side, we will get to your questions in just a few minutes. So feel free to come on up and all that. My favorite story is a story called Enemy of the World.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that one.
Well, for years I've been saying Enemy of the World, and people have gone, yeah, Patrick plays two parts. Yeah, that's been done before, yeah. And then when he came out, my God, that was so good. Patrick was he was really good at it. I mean, with the first day of rehearsals, he came up to Debbie and I, and he said, oh, think for this accent from Salamander, what do you think of this voice? And Wendy, and Debbie went, are you going to play it like that? I said, he's not a bad time, you know. And Patrick slunk away. You could hurt him, actually. He slunk away. No, he was brilliant in that part, really good.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we've got an audience question. We've got something lined up. Go right ahead.
Hello again. Hi, I just wanted to ask Ms. Padbury a question. I meant to ask this in the meet and greet, but we ran out of
Get
time.
time.
Is it true that you were asked to stay on into John Pertwee's reign as the Doctor? And if you didn't, I'm just curious why you decided.
Yeah, no, it is true, but I didn't think, I mean, like Frazer spoke to his, we all spoke to our agents, you know, and it was, I just didn't think, I didn't know who was coming in as the Doctor, and we'd had such an amazing time that I didn't think you could replicate that, really. So it made absolute sense for me to go at the same time as Frazer and Pat. Yeah.
Because we didn't want to leave. Because Patrick's wife was saying, you should be doing grown-up television. And my agent said, oh, darling, you've got 3 years leave. You should go back to films now. And Wendy's agent as well. And I always say, if we hadn't had those good people nagging us, you never heard of David Tennant, who's still be there now. You'd have to shoot us to get us out of the house.
That would be great. Well, thank you very much, and it's wonderful to have both of you back at Chicago.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
So I know in your era some of the props didn't look as great as they do now. Did they look better in person than they did on TV?
That's a great question.
No! They were pretty basic,
Yeah.
I think is a polite way of saying. You know, in the TARDIS, you couldn't really touch many buttons because
No.
they'd just come off in your hand. You know?
Yes. But the best thing was the set that we have for the underground.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
because we wanted to film actually in Covent Garden. In those days, the British Underground closed between 2 and 5 in the morning, so they could sweep off the dust and clean the place. And then they wouldn't let us film. So they built the set. And the first episode went out, and London Transport rang the BBC and said they'd broken into Covent Garden. It was that good. We'll have to sue them. And they said, no, come and look at the set. And I went, oh, God. And it was just fantastic set.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Good,
you.
thank you. Good question. Come on up. Thank you so much.
Testing.
Yes, it works. Yeah, we hear you.
Given the quality of work and the way it has stood the test of time, y'all's particular run, and given the state of technology with the development of AI, I don't see how somebody, somewhere, even if it's just some fan in a basement, doesn't end up creating new stories, new episodes, new films out of this original body of work that you guys have created. How is that being accounted for? How is that being addressed in your industry? It seems an inevitability.
I don't know. I think I'm going to
What? You mean that just making...
I think he's talking about artificial intelligence and...
Yeah, let's not do that. AI is an amazing thing, but don't replicate us.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, how would you, when you repaint a Van Gogh, for example? Given the fact that, there are the Frankensteins in the world out there, if it can be done, it will be done. Are you guys and your families or your compatriots, your industry comrades, are you protected financially as far as your intellectual property goes, or how is?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay.
No. And actually, we had no technology back then, but here we are, all these years later. All we had to rely on then was a really good story and really good actors, and it works. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here, would we?
And we were fortunate, we had real sets to work in. Nowadays, most of it is green screen.
Right.
So they just say, but pretend that green wall there's a space station, there's a door there. And we were lucky because we had sets.
I remember doing a panel with Pearl, and she was saying, somebody asked her a question about monsters and things and how she felt working with them, and she just sort of said, well, it was on a green screen, but when we did have a monster, it was just like an old lamp stand with a shade on the top, and I said, oh, that was our monster.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for your question. Come on up.
Hi.
So my question is, what was it like coming back and filming the Tales of the Tortoise?
Oh yeah, it was excellent, wasn't it?
It was great fun, yeah.
Yeah, it was such a lovely nod to the 60s, and that's down to Russell, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Because he's such a big fan. And I remember when I was asked, and I said, oh, I'm going to have to think about it. And I got a call from Russell saying, what? What do you mean you've got to think about it? And I said, Russell, I haven't acted for 40 years. He said, it's 6 minutes. And I said, yeah, but I've got to learn lines. And he said, it's like riding a bike. Pull yourself together. And actually, it wasn't like riding a bike. It was that muscle was needed a reboot. But it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
And he took us out for supper the night before, and Wendy actually said, I haven't. And I said, well, you've done Big Finish. She said, yes, but that's reading, It's not having to learn stuff. But it was like...
But everything, I was impressed with the machine that is Bad Wolf, because if you, I remember that evening Russell saying a car will pick you up from the hotel, and I said, it's all right. I've got my car at the hotel, so I'll drive myself in. And he said, a car will pick you up at the hotel. And I said, Russell, honestly, I've got my car, and then when we finished, I could drive straight home. And he said, a car will pick you up from the hotel. And I said, you have to remember, I used to go to work to do Doctor Who on the bus. So I said, this is all different. And the machine that is Bad Wolf is so enormous. I mean, I spent most of the day with my mother basically going, I can't believe this. It was like, and Russell said, do you want to go and see David's TARDIS? I don't think you went to see it, did you? And I said, oh yeah. So after filming, they took me to down these corridors into this ginormous hangar, and I walked on David's TARDIS, enormous. And I said, oh, do you remember the size of our TARDIS? And I mean, ours was tiny. This was enormous. And I think it was Scott Hancock who said to me, yeah, when David first got on that, and there was a particular scene, he decided, because there were so many gantries to run around and places to run, he decided that he was going to do this particular scene whilst running around all these things. And apparently, after the second take, he was rather regretful that he'd made the decision to keep running around because he was utterly exhausted. But no, it was an amazing thing to do, wasn't it?
We were doing a convention in Swansea the weekend before. Yes. So we were able to say we were in Wales. Oh, you're in? No, Swansea. We were dying to tell people, but we couldn't tell.
Not a soul. We were really, and actually at that convention there was Colin, Sylv, Peter Purvis, Sophie, you and me.
Yeah.
And we all knew that coming week we would be, and we were all desperately wanting to say to each other, isn't this exciting?
Yes.
Isn't this exciting? And nobody did. We didn't dare. And actually, Frazer asked to leave the convention early on the Sunday afternoon.
Yes.
And he said, right, I'm going, it was like we were in some spy thing. Right, I'm going to leave now, because Carrie said I could go. I said, okay, I'll leave it half an hour, and then I'll ask Carrie if I could go, and I'll follow you to the hotel. It was so cloak and dagger, wasn't it? It was extraordinary.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, come on up.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear.
21.
21! Congratulations.
I wanted to ask this at the meet and greet, but I came late, and my only excuse is that it's my birthday. That's all I have. But first, I want to thank you, Wendy, for straight up saying I don't want to be depicted with AI. I'm an artist. I'm in art school, and it's an existential threat to like everything I've worked for. And I love hearing people be like putting their foot down, being like, "Don't use my voice or my face or anything." That's so I wanted to ask Frazer, what was it like when you joined? It was last minute, and you joined already with Annika, Michael, and Pat all there, and it formed the first 4-person TARDIS team since the beginning. I dub it Team PB&J, Polly, Ben, Jamie. Was it daunting to join in, or was you knowing Pat from Smuggler's Bay and Alaska?
It was daunting in so much that Annika and Mike kind of didn't welcome me as such. And understandably, if I'd done, say, a year and a half, and then they brought in another male companion, like Adrian or whoever, I'd have thought, why do we don't need another male companion? So I can understand Michael praising, we don't need this other male companion. And Annika used to hug everybody in the morning, except me. She always let me.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I also just want to shout out everyone that always keeps everything working. They're the unsung heroes of every convention. I don't know your name, but I can. Keep everything running on time.
We got time for just a couple more questions.
Oh.
Come on up.
I was just wondering, about 60 years ago when you were filming this show, how do you think you envisioned that you would view it 60 years later? your roles, and how do you think you would have reacted if someone had told you that 60 years later you'd be still making appearances together in the United States and talking about it?
We'd have gone, yeah, get out of here. Don't be daft. Of course we won't. Wouldn't we?
Would have kept all the costumes. You'd have every costume, sure. For everything, the shirts and kilts and yeah, would have kept everything. They're never dreaming at all, you know. Thank you.
Oh, if my 15-year-old self knew that I'd be speaking to these two wonderful people today, I never would have believed it. But this is just an honor. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great honor for you. So one round of applause for Frazer Hines and Wendy Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Chicago Tardis. And if you want to join me in the game room, we'll be playing Battle for the Universe very shortly. Thank you. Larry?